Hi everyone, this is Tan. Welcome back to another episode of the Man to Man Coach podcast. Today I'm joined with my good friend and co-host Mason.
What's up, guys?
Hey Mason, how are you doing today?
Pretty good. Nice Wednesday morning. Ready to talk some football.
Yeah, it's nice to have you back on it. I like October football. Here I have like a little Halloween tree up. I have the window open. It's nice and chilly fall day, or as chilly as it can get here. Before we jump into today's episode, I just wanted to briefly talk about the whole John Gruden situation. And there's a lot to this. And I don't feel like personally I don't feel like I can put it into words the way I want to. So I'm going to read something real quick. This is a tweet by Tom Grossi. He's an NFL YouTuber, big fan of the Packers. He said, when you work for a private entity like the NFL, you're beholden to their rules and regulations. Gruden said some awful stuff, and because of that, he's out of a job. That's not cancel culture, that's consequences. I think that sums up pretty well the whole scenario. I don't have anything else to add to that. If you don't, Mason, we'll move on. But I just wanted to mention that situation because it's a big thing that's going around the NFL, and I just thought it'd be weird to not bring it up. So, do you have anything else to add to that, Mason?
Um, One thing I thought was pretty good for the Buccaneers to remove him from the Ring of Honor. I think that was a good thing they came out and did that. But other than that, yeah, nailed it perfectly with that tweet.
Yep. So we'll move on to today's show. We're going to be talking about the Week 5 games. Can't believe we're already here. We'll be going through all the 2019 first round draft picks that we had and see how they panned up in their career and then preview Week 6. So starting with Week 5, the first game I want to talk about is the Los Angeles Chargers hosting the Cleveland Browns and winning. This was an entertaining game, a ton of scoring back and forth. This Chargers team looks different, right? Because the Chargers the past 5, 10 years were always a team that was good, but I just felt like they're never elite. And this Chargers team seems different. I think it's really up to Justin Herbert. He looks like a top tier quarterback. Not only does he have a great arm, but he just is like really accurate with it. And this is only his second year. And we've seen some insane sophomore years like Lamar Jackson as of late, Mahomes, stuff like that. But the way Herbert's playing is just such a massive improvement. And I think that Herbert is kind of what you always wanted Phil Rivers to be. Phil Rivers, the former Chargers quarterback, is for sure a Hall of Famer. The dude had so many starts, yards, and touchdowns. Rivers is fantastic, but I feel like Phil Rivers never had that like thing that really made you scared of him per se. Like his arm talent was good, never elite. I think his accuracy was pretty nice, but never elite. And I felt like the Chargers with Rivers were always in games. They're never really winning a Super Bowl or anything with that. And I know that the team Rivers had, they weren't fantastic, but still, I think Herbert could pass Rivers in his NFL career because he just has that arm talent, has been able to kind of have this ability to use it in a way that is really great. It kind of reminds me of Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers a bit, right? Brett Favre is a Hall of Famer for the Packers, but the dude turned the ball over a lot. There's some issues. He did win a lot. Aaron Rodgers comes along, insane talent, wins MVP 3 times, I believe, in a Super Bowl. I think that's what the Chargers. Rivers, Hall of Famer, did a lot. Herbert comes in, I think could improve on that. So I also want to talk about the coaching. Brandon Staley is looking fantastic. I really love that hire. The more I thought about it, and he's looking great. The Chargers are able to stay in games and win them. It's just nice to see Los Angeles do that, not blow games or be a disappointing franchise. Um, it's nice to see Mike Williams, Keenan Allen, and Austin Eckler getting going. I've always loved Keenan Allen. I'm a huge fan of his. Mike Williams, I've always liked more than other people. He's just a very physical, wise at the point of attack, just able to catch that football and keep running. Austin Eckler is a do-it-all back. He's like kind of a tier below Christian McCaffrey, but still pretty great. And then talking about the Browns real quick, I mean, the Browns 4 years ago, this team won. They went 1-15, and just a turn they've had going from 1-15, drafting Baker Mayfield, Miles Garrett, Nick Chubb, Denzel Ward, all these players to be a team that's just pretty great. It's nice to see. I think the Browns Last year they looked pretty good, and this year they've continued that. So I think they've established themselves as a pretty good team. I like Baker Mayfield. I know some people don't, but I think while he's not an elite QB like Russell Wilson, Mahomes, Rodgers, you still have what you want from a franchise quarterback. He's fairly accurate. He has that leadership and personality, and I think he works well in the Browns offense. And it's nice to see Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt going. Kareem Hunt, he's done some off the field stuff, which was not good, but on the field, he is fun to watch. And it's nice to see him get back to his form with the Chiefs, kind of almost redeem himself. And yeah, so Chargers look great. I think there's a chance that they could win the Super Bowl. I think Cardinals Chargers is a really likely Super Bowl. And the Browns look good as well. So that's kind of my first game, Mason. If you want to say your thoughts on that and go into your first game.
Yeah, that that game was really fun to watch. I mean, the
Mhm.
Browns are the first team in NFL history to lose while scoring 40 points and not turning over the ball. So that just shows like how good of a game both teams played. Um, yeah, so you really nailed it with the Chargers. Justin Herbert looking like an absolute stud out there. Just needs to keep it up. Brandon Staley, really like how he's controlled this team. And Derwin James, I mean, he
Mm.
really hasn't played the past couple of years, but he's really defining himself as one of the best safeties, if not the best safety in football right now. I mean, he's an absolute stud. He's everywhere. Uh, goes and gets interceptions, stops the run, absolute beast. Joey Bosa, he is fantastic as well. I feel like Nick Bosa is the bigger Bosa name just because I feel like they talk about him more in media, maybe just because he's a newer player or something. But I think Joey Bosa is very slept on. He's just
Yeah,
absolute stud.
he's way better than Nick, in my opinion.
Yeah, he's an absolute stud. Rashawn Slater, their young offensive tackle. I mean, Miles Garrett praised Rashawn Slater, and when you get praise from Miles Garrett, I think you're doing something right. Um, as well as Rashawn Slater told, I believe he told Austin Eckler to stop chip blocking Miles Garrett, and he wants Miles Garrett one on one. And he did a pretty good job of holding his ground, especially for a rookie. I mean, he's only going to improve. And Mike Williams, he's honestly looking like a most improved player. That's not an award in the NFL, but if it was, he'd be in one of the, he'd probably be top 5, top 7. He's just an absolute stud this year. People forget he was a top 7 pick for a reason. Um, absolute unit. And then talking about the Browns, I love the Browns offense. I think this is just a unfortunate game for them just because they played
Mhm.
so good. I mean, probably play any other team in the NFL this past week, they're probably going to beat them. They just happen to play a red hot Chargers team that scored 47. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, best running back duo in the NFL, in my opinion. They play so well off each other, and they're both very unselfish, which I really
Mhm.
like to see from the both of them. I'm talking about something a little negative. Is like I think the Browns really need to start looking to trade Odell Beckham. I think he's not a big part of this offense, so I feel like it's just better to free up that money and use it elsewhere because, I mean, Odell's getting 3 targets a game. I mean, you're paying him probably what 20 million a year, I think, and you could probably get some value for him. I think the Odell experiment really hasn't worked out. I think Jarvis Landry is a way better fit for this team. When he comes back, he's probably going to be the number 1 receiver.
I
Um, you go ahead.
I disagree a bit with the OBJ thing because that's a very popular thing in the whole like NFL media, and I get what people are saying, but I just feel like if the Browns go up against a team who can shut down the run, you need a big play wide receiver. And I feel like Odell Beckham fits that. So I don't know. I'm kind of indifferent to that. It wouldn't shock me if it happened, but I think OBJ is still kind of more talented than people think. But I do get where you're coming from, and I do see it's just besides.
I'm not saying Odell's not talented. I just don't think he fits this offense. I mean, you look at the statistics, the Browns are way better without Odell. Baker's way better without Odell. It's just the facts. Like statistically, I mean, the record proves it, his stats prove it. So I just think, and they have people like Donovan Peoples Jones who can make big plays.
He
And
is
I think
good.
Jarvis Landry fits the offense better. And I think it's not that Odell isn't talented. I think you could just use his value and get more probably on the defensive side just because I mean you don't want to give him up 47 points, obviously. So I think they could just use the pieces more of them, like his value to like spread it out more, if that makes sense.
It does, yeah. Donovan Peoples-Jones has been really nice. So
Yeah, but other than that, Browns killed it this game. Really unfortunate they lost. If I was like a Browns fan, I'd be really upset if my team scored 42 and basically played flawless and lost, but that's just how the NFL works sometimes. And then talking about two teams that were far from flawless, the Packers and the Bengals. Um, the regular time, the first quarter through the fourth quarter, that game was absolutely phenomenal. The overtime, I was literally like, "Are you kidding me? This is one of the worst overtimes I think I've ever watched in NFL history, and it has to be up there." Um, but talking about the regular time first, Joe Burrow absolutely killed it in the first four quarters of the game. Jamar Chase, he is offensive rookie of the year by far right now. Absolute stud. Joe Mixon's playing really good. He's playing at a consistent level, which a lot of people have been. That's been his biggest question mark, I think, his whole career is if he can stay healthy and be consistent, which he's doing both this year. The Bengals' offensive line has honestly not been horrible. It's been okay for what it has. Their defense played really solid. Aaron Rodgers looked really good. Devontae Adams always looks good, 200 yards, absolute beast. Aaron Jones looked good. But no, just a really fun game up until overtime. And then you go to overtime, you have 7 straight missed field goals, and that has to be some NFL record. I don't know what NFL record, but I don't think there's ever been a game where someone missed 7 straight field goals. Mason Crosby, this dude missed 3 game-winning field goals. 2 of them are pretty easy. I think one was inside the 30 and one was inside the 40. And it wasn't that windy of a day because they have the flags on the goalpost, and it will show if it's like windy because they need to know where to kick the ball. Those flags, Tanner, were still as they could possibly be. Like there was no wind, no excuse. Mason Crosby absolutely did not kill it, but then he finally hit his 4th game-winning field goal. He finally hit that. The Packers got the win, and then the Bengals kicker also struggled. I know Tanner doesn't like this guy Evan McPherson. Yeah, he missed 2 game-winning field goals, and the funny thing was after his second one he missed, he thought he made it, and he was getting excited, and the team was like rallying around him, like yeah, we won, and then the refs go, no good, and he's like, what? And everyone on TV is like, dude, that's like clearly far left. I don't know what you're looking at, and that was just really funny. But no, great game in regulation time. Overtime was pretty brutal to watch. Joe Burrow had a really horrible pick in overtime. Luckily, Mason Crosby missed the field goal that drive, but then Evan McPherson didn't really win it for the Bengals. But overall, I think it was a really good game. Overtime was not that fun to watch, but I think if you collectively go from the first quarter through overtime, I think it was a pretty good game.
Yeah, I said some stuff about McPherson, how he's not that great. Next week when the Bengals presumably beat the Lions, Evan McPherson can be celebrating on the bench because I think you need to bench him. That is unexcusable that the Bengals would have beaten the Packers. I don't think people would have understood this. It would have been 4-1 on the season, and in the AFC North, that's the same record as the Ravens. Browns are behind. I just think that's really inexcusable. He seems like a nice guy. He's won some other games for them, cool, but he's a young player. And I think not only should you bench him for a game, say, hey, that was terrible, but I think you also need to show some strictness in the organization, right? Let's talk about the New England Patriots. The Patriots have been a strict organization. If that's Bill Belichick's kicker, he's probably getting benched. And I think that just builds confidence in a team. Like, hey, if you don't do your job, then you're on the bench. I'm not saying I think he should be on the team, but I think you bench him for like about a week or two. It's just frustrating because the Bengals were so close to being the Packers. I'm surprised that doesn't shock that many people. I guess people are getting more used to the Bengals. Joe Burrow, I've been praising about this whole podcast. I love him. He played great minus the pick. That Jamar Chase touchdown, top play ever. Aaron Rodgers and Devontae Adams, they're a nice offense. Like they're nice. They're not explosive. Like it's either Randall Cobb or Devontae Adams. I've never seen both of them both be electric in the game. I think that look at electric offenses like the Cowboys, Cardinals, Chiefs, whoever. they use multiple players in the game. I haven't seen them from Green Bay. So either one person or another. Aaron Jones has been nice, and I will say that it's good to see him consistent. But the Packers, like, they're a good team. They're gonna win games because Aaron Rodgers is talented. I think they beat the Bears this week, but I don't know. I just they haven't like wowed me, but they haven't disappointed me. So they win. Mason Crosby, I'm glad he redeemed himself. I've always been a Crosby fan. So, you know, he wins in a really wild game. This was, you talk about the field goals, and I think that's a very important part. I like that no wind and no excuses. Um,
Yeah.
but it was a crazy game that the Bengals almost won, and they look like a lot better of a team. I know people are still like, okay, we almost won, but fire Zach Taylor. Like if you go on the Bengals Instagram, I don't think you fire Zach Taylor. A lot of people are like, oh, the Bengals are winning because of Joe Burrow. Yeah, that's a huge part of it. I mean, Burrow's fantastic the way he can survey and throw the ball, but Zach Taylor's the one calling up these plays and motivating these guys. And from going from like winning 4 or 5 games last year to being 3-2 this year, that's for me very impressive. So yeah, I think that people need to be giving Zach Taylor more credit. I thought his play design's been pretty well this year. So yeah, pretty great game all around. And then we have the second game I'm going to talk about um this week. And I talked about Chargers Browns. We've had Packers Bengals, two really high scoring fun games. I want to go Eagles Panthers. Not so fun and high scoring. Talking about Carolina, they lose this game. When Christian McCaffrey got hurt, I remember I said it on one of the prediction videos here on the channel. I said, when you have someone like McCaffrey out, it's going to be hard for the Panthers to maintain a consistent offense, and that's been the case. They cannot move the ball without McCaffrey. It's really yikes. Sam Darnold hasn't looked that great. People like give up on him. Panthers Instagram page comments like, Sam's not our guy. I'm like, you guys were just praising him like 2 weeks ago, but okay. I just I just think without without someone without someone like McCaffrey, it's hard to maintain an offense. And I think that goes more to the coaching staff. People love to talk about Joe Brady, the offensive coordinator of Carolina, and the dude's a great play caller, but without your main playmaker, you need to have a bit more. And I would also like to see more Terrence Marshall, the rookie. I don't know. I don't think he's been injured. He hasn't gotten a ton going. So just I think better offensive play. Kind of defense played well with the Panthers, but yeah. And then the Eagles, I saw a comment, and the Eagles are like, and Eagles fans are like, our defense is either like a top unit in the NFL or like bottom five. Like there's no in between, and that's true. This week it was a top unit. It was so nice, Mason, to see Darius Slay have 2 picks. Ever since he's been an Eagle, this is his second season. He's kind of been disappointing. This was the first game, really, I feel like in his career where you saw that big play Slay in his prime come back. That was awesome to see. Jalen Hurts played well. He's still young in his career. The thing I like about Hurts is kind of leadership, just going and winning it for the team. He's not perfect. Well, that's kind of the thing with Hurts. I just feel like that there's going to be stuff that limits him, but he can have really nice plays, and I think that he can work around his adversity. So nice win by the Eagles. I still think they're kind of like a bottom 10 team in the NFL, maybe bottom 7 or so. But it's nice to see this team kind of fight back and get a win. Panthers, it's very concerning for them, in my opinion.
Yeah, this Eagles team kind of reminds me of the 2019 Cardinals where it's a rookie coach and a young quarterback, but they're trying to figure things out. And I think everyone knows.
That
I mean,
was
we're not.
that was Kyler's and Cliff's first year, correct?
Yeah,
Just to clarify. Okay.
yeah. I think that year and this Eagles year is kind of just like I think everyone in the organization knows. Hey, we're probably not gonna make playoffs, but let's see what we can work with in the future. And I think it looks pretty good. I really like Jalen Hurts. I've said this even before he was drafted. Um, he's a phenomenal leader. He is one of the best teammates I think you'll ever find. I mean, he got benched for Tua Tagovailoa in believe it was the 2019 championship game, or 2018, one of those two. He got benched in the middle of the game, And after the game, usually like if someone gets benched, the quarterback will be like, ah, whatever. But during the game and after the game, Jalen Hurts was rooting Tua on, was the first one to like pick up Tua and be like, yeah, yeah, we won. Like that's just the type of player he is. I mean, even last year, he was kind of with that with Carson Wentz. Like you could see him on the sideline, basically, like Wentz threw a pick. Hurts and him would be like talking about it on the sideline, like, oh, there's a safety high over here, and the cornerback's kind of playing zone or something like that. They'd be talking about the play, and I really like that. I mean, just something like that, and he rallies his teammates around. I feel like he keeps the peace in Philadelphia because I feel like Philadelphia is known for a lot of big name players. I mean, you got Terrell Owens, he used to be there, LaShawn McCoy, and I think Jalen Hurts kind of like keeps the peace, if that makes sense. Where he's not like a Deshaun Jackson where he's out and flashy, but he's a really cool, calm, and collected guy, and I think I really like that about him. This Eagles defense really came to play. Was super glad to see that. And like you said, Darius Slay had a massive game. I mean, last year it was very disappointing, especially that Seahawks game where he got absolutely obliterated by
Oh,
DK Metcalf.
oh
but
no. That was
but
on
yeah,
prime
this
time too. I was like, oh no.
yeah, yeah, I was playing DK in fantasy that week, so I was not very happy about that game. uh, other than that, no, he played phenomenal. Um, I really like Nick Sirianni a lot. I think he's a young coach, and I think he has a lot that he can work on. It's his first year though, so like I feel like if he gets a lot of criticism, that to take it lightly, just because apart from a few coaches, not many coaches do good in their first year. If we're being honest, it's a really hard adjustment, and it's his first year as a head coach too. It's not like he's had previous experiences, like say a Mike McCarthy going to the Packers, to the Cowboys, something like that. And then talking about the Panthers, Sam Darnold is really disappointing me. I mean, he played so good to start off the year, and I think the biggest thing I think everyone talked about is he needs to be consistent because he showed a lot of flashes in New York of being great, and then he showed flashes not being great. And I think a big part of that was because he was with the Jets, but I think he needs to shy away from games like these more often, and maybe that'll just come over with time. I mean, it's a new offense; it's still only week 5, so maybe he'll still develop. And he's still a young quarterback. It's not like he's some veteran quarterback at this point. He's still very young, so I still have high hopes for him. He needs to limit these kind of games. And yeah, like you said about Christian McCaffrey, I mean, you saw last year Christian McCaffrey went down. I feel like they had a really good start to last year too. McCaffrey went down pretty early. That season kind of didn't go anywhere. McCaffrey's out again. Hopefully it's not out too long. He might play this week, I believe. Um, but yeah, I think this team needs to start relying more on its other playmakers. I mean, DJ Moore is having a phenomenal year. I think not enough people are talking about him. And then I think not enough people are talking about Robbie Anderson not having a big year. I think he's really taken
Hmm.
a step back, which is bad for this offense because they need DJ Moore and Robbie Anderson on the same page pretty much. Um, and it's looking like Curtis Samuel leaving is going to be a big blow to their offense because he brought so much dynamic plays to that team. Really opened things up for Robbie Anderson, not really for DJ Moore because I think DJ Moore gets most of the attention
Yeah.
anyways. Um, but yeah, I think Robbie Anderson needs to step up big for this team, and I think Darnold just needs to limit these games that he's having. But talking about a good note for them, really love the defense still. I think it's still a really good defense. They're getting Stephon Gilmore pretty soon, and they have CJ Henderson and JC Horn. JC Horn's out for the year, but I'm just talking about like next year. The secondary is going to be absolutely loaded, and Dante Jackson. I mean, that's going to be a very like tough secondary to play against, and Jeremy Chin, of course. But Tanner knows this. Brian Burns and Son Reddick, massive fans of them. I mean, like that's probably one of my favorite pass rushing duos in the NFL.
Brian Burns has been quiet though. I
Yeah,
love him as much as like you do, but he had like a great week 1 and it's been like
no, no, he's been
um
quiet for sure, but I think Brian Burns is kind of like, I think he's opening things up for Hassan Reddick. Because Hassan Reddick's having a very good year. I don't think
he
enough people are
is.
talking about that. I think he has 6 sacks on the year, which I think is tied for first. I don't think enough people are talking about that. Everyone's like, "Oh, Miles Garrett, yeah, sacks." Blah, blah. I'm like, Hassan Reddick's not getting double teamed, of course, as much as Miles Garrett, but 6 sacks is still 6 sacks through 5 weeks. So yeah, I think it's Hassan Reddick. I think I said this a couple weeks ago. He's in for a big payday this offseason. Super proud of that guy. He's drafted by the Cardinals. We really misused him his first couple years. I'm so glad he's like playing good. I'm really happy for the guy. One of my favorite players in the NFL. But Yeah, this Panthers team just needs to get back on track next week. I'm not sure.
The Vikings.
Yeah, the Vikings. That's gonna be an
Both,
interesting
yeah,
game.
both teams have been underwhelming on the offense. Like that Vikings Lions game is like the Lions should have won that. All right, Mason, what's the last game you have to talk about?
Yeah, so my last game, I know Tanner's gonna be really happy about this one. I have the Colts versus the Ravens, kind of like a Tanner Bowl almost. You know, you got Carson Wentz,
Gosh.
and then you have the Ravens. But
Yeah.
all jokes aside, this Colts team might be the best 1-4 team I've seen in a while. I just think they
Mhm.
didn't get the job done Monday night. They had a really great start to this. I mean, quarters 1 through 3, they were phenomenal. And for some reason, that fourth quarter, things were not clicking for them. A big part of that was Rodrigo Blankenship getting injured. One of his field goals got blocked by Calais Campbell, also another Cardinals player drafted. Absolute stud. If anyone, he's probably, I honestly think he's the best field goal blocker of all time. I don't know if that's like a word or something. I think he's the best field goal disruptor of all time just because of how many field goals he's blocked throughout his career. And then the second field goal, I think it would have gave him they would have been up 28 and it would have basically changed the entire game. It would have went to overtime basically. Yeah, it would have been a game-winning field goal, excuse me. Because the game was tied at 25 apiece. And Rodrigo missed a wide left, and I guess he was dealing with a hip injury. I think he got hit during one of the kicks or something like that, or he flexed his muscle weird. But no, weird off game for the Colts in that fourth quarter. I mean, quarters 1 through 3, they're absolutely killing it. Jonathan Taylor had a massive play. It's like a 76
Oh
yard
yeah.
receiving touchdown. Um, and at first I was like, wow, the Colts are really going to upset the Ravens. And then talking about why I want to talk about this game is Lamar Jackson. This dude, I've been a supporter of Lamar Jackson for so long. I'm so glad he's proven all these people wrong because the running back jokes are funny. Yes, they're funny, but this dude threw 37 of 43 passing, which is the highest completion percentage in NFL history for people who threw 40 times at least. And just to put that in perspective, this is not an ESPN stat or anything crazy like that. Just to take into account, so there's been 4,200 games where a quarterback has thrown at least 40 times, and Lamar
Wow,
Jackson holds the highest completion percentage of any of those games.
that's a lot more
So
than I thought, to be honest. That many games. Wow.
yeah, I saw that stat. I forgot. I think it was Pro Football Focus, but um, just to put that in perspective, like that's 4,200 games, and Lamar Jackson has the highest completion percentage out of all of those, and he threw, was it 5 touchdowns, 4 touchdowns, 5 touchdowns?
I think four.
Yeah, 4 touchdowns. Yeah, 4 touchdowns, 450 passing yards, like 86% completion, like no turnover, or he had a fumble, but no picks. Um, Absolute killer game from Lamar Jackson. I think that might be his best game in his career, in my opinion, just because he came back from such a large deficit against a pretty solid Colts defense. Definitely his best passing game of his career, that's for sure. Um, he had a pretty bad fumble on the goal line. And after that, you know, a lot of quarterbacks and a lot of players in this league would kind of just like flip that switch off and be like, man, we lost this game. But Lamar Jackson kept his cool. Mark Andrews, absolute stud. There's a reason why he's going to get paid, or he already did get paid. I forgot. Top 5 tight end easily in this league. Marquise Brown, you know, he had a horrible game against the Lions, bounced back this week. And
Mhm.
I just really love this Ravens team. I think that first week when they lost the Raiders, there was a lot of like, oh, that offensive line, this team doesn't look too great. But I think this past 4 weeks, especially this game against the Colts and the Chiefs, I think those are both really big statement wins for them. And I'm really excited for this team. I think they're a Super Bowl contender, in my opinion, just because I know I say this. I know I feel like I say this every year about the Ravens, that they're a Super Bowl contender, but I really feel it this year. Just something about this team feels different. I really have no idea what it is because it's kind of the same team with a lot of injuries, but I think it's just Lamar Jackson playing at even a better level than his 2019 year, passing wise at least. Um, but yeah, Lamar Jackson's an absolute stud, and I'm really excited for this Ravens team moving forward.
Yeah, this Ravens team kind of reminds me of the Milwaukee Bucks last year, like how they're in close games and the Bucks end up winning the championship. So we'll see what happens here with the Ravens. I think they have a good shot. The AFC is going to be really close. Yeah, I mean Lamar Jackson played great. I didn't watch the game. because I was working at the time. But it was funny because where I work at, we were doing our closing shifts and we were pretty much done. We were just waiting for the manager to finish up their duty. So I had the game pulled up on my phone. I was like watching it. I was watching the overtime drive. And my other coworkers, they're not football fans. They're talking about other stuff. And I see the touchdown winning. I'm like, yes. And I start celebrating the play, like, what's going on? But yeah, it was a really it's like a really great game. Lamar Jackson, the way he throws the ball is very different. I think that's why sometimes people have a way of like people
It's
are
kind of
kind
like
of
that.
yeah, people are kind of like one they don't call him elite passes. Like he's very different than like Rodgers and Mahomes and Allen and Wilson. Like he almost kind of like moves in the pocket. Those guys kind of like go like back. They like lean back and they like go. They like go through. Like Lamar's just kind of like he like almost like goes down and then like goes up to throw. It's very unique, but I really like it. Mark Andrews is looking like a fantastic tight end. I think he's overtaken George Kittle in the tight end. I think it goes Kelsey Waller, Andrews, Kittle for top four, in my opinion. You could put TJ Hawkinson at five and Noah Fant, but yeah, it was nice to see Hollywood Brown have a big game. I really liked him when he was drafted, so it's nice to see him in there. I can't wait till Rashad Bateman plays. That's going to be so exciting. The rookie wide receiver still has not played yet due to injury, but the Ravens stepped up and it was big. They've had a lot of really exciting games. I feel like that this team is just so fun to watch. The Colts played well, and I got to give them a lot of credit. Just unfortunate can't hang in there. Carson Wentz has played very good throughout this year, though. I feel like he's been kind of in the top half of QBs. Like he hasn't really turned the ball over. He looks a lot better than last year. So that's nice to see, right? Someone who watched a lot of Wentz last year was like, oh, what are you doing? Half the plays. Here it's nice to see him read the field better and play well. I think you keep Wentz in another year in the system and he'll could be like a top 10-ish quarterback. I think that he's showing that growth. Michael Pittman, he's looking great for Indianapolis. Talking about underrated players, he's definitely one of them. So we're gonna now move on to the 2019 first round picks. Mason, can you see my screen?
I can, in fact, yes.
So when I put these players into five teams, going to go home run, hit, okay, like fine, underwhelming, and miss. Want to alternate, and I'm going to go through these not fast, but I want to go through them pretty quick. A lot of players we've already talked about. So Kyle Murray, pick one, goes to the Cardinals. For me, it's his home run. Murray's a top 10 QB this year. He's really elevated that offense to new areas. He's accurate, he's mobile, and he seems like a really great guy. So home run pick for the Cardinals at number one.
Yeah, for sure. You said home run hit or miss, right?
Is home run hit, is home run hit, fine, underwhelming, or miss?
Okay. Um, yeah, for the Nick Bosa, I'm gonna go home run. I don't know. I don't know if Tanner agrees with me, but I think this guy's an absolute stud. I mean, coming from a Cardinals fan, I've watched a lot of this guy's games. And I think he's just an absolute beast. I mean, he like pushes back offensive linemen like crazy. Um, I'm personally a big fan of Nick Bosa. I know, and a lot of people aren't. I think a lot of people think he's overrated. I think Joey Bosa is better, but I do think Nick. I think at this point it was a home run pick just because I think they got a dynamic pass rusher.
Yeah, I would go home run. He's definitely improved that team a lot. The year they went to the Super Bowl, he was a
Mm.
huge factor. Quentin Williams, I'm gonna go underwhelming. I don't think he's a miss. He just has been underwhelming for me. I know you look at the stats, I was like, whoa, he's done this and that. All right, good for him. But I think one thing defensive players do is they really move a defense forward. Last week on the podcast, I talked about the three lows of the defense. And one thing I said is make sure your DT stop the run and like they can affect the rest of the team. I haven't seen that. So I'm gonna go underwhelming, especially for pick number three. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely like that. Underwhelming for sure. Um, Clelin Ferrell,
Oh
number
no.
4 for the Oakland Raiders. I honestly would have said miss when they picked him, and I still go by miss. I mean, no idea why you pick a guy who was projected at 15 at the time, by the way. I know this is not, I'm not even saying this now. Like during this draft, he was projected to go around that middle range. You pick him at 4, and really hasn't done much for you. I mean, Max Crosby, who I think you got late in the later rounds, has done way more for than your fourth overall pick. So yeah, definitely a miss for me.
Yeah, it's because at the time the Raiders had a bad pass rush, and they select the pass rusher here, but he's a very raw player. He's not someone you can go ahead and start. Devin White, I love this pick. He balled out in the Super Bowl. He's a home run. He's a grand slam. Been fantastic as a middle linebacker for the Buccaneers. I'm so happy for him because he's so fast. He can cover the field so well. He's one of my favorite defensive players to watch. And the dude, had a great rookie. And then next year, Tom Brady comes in, that defense gets elevated and they win the Super Bowl. So for me, that's a home run hit. I think the Raiders should have gotten him, but yeah, just fantastic pick there.
Yeah, Devin White, absolute stud. I mean,
Hmm.
he's one of the best linebackers already in 3 years in, so definitely a home run hit. New York Giants, Daniel Jones. I'm gonna go with fine.
Hmm.
I feel like this is kind of his career, just like in the middle of things. Um, I don't think I want to put him in like underwhelming just because I think he's had a lot of good moments with the Giants. I don't think I want to put him at hit just because it's a six overall pick. I think you could have got better value at the six overall pick, but I'll go fine. I think he's been a fine quarterback throughout his career. Nothing crazy, but he still has some room for improvement. I mean, he had a great game, I believe. Who did he play?
The Saints.
The Saints. Yeah, he had a great game against the Saints. Got injured during that Cowboys game. Really hope he gets better. I mean, that looked really bad, concussion wise. But no, just a fine pick, I think.
Yeah, well, I'll say this. He's a second quarterback take, and he's been the second best QB in this draft class. So that's interesting to see how that panned out. Next up, we have Josh Allen, outside linebacker for the Jaguars. This is a hit. He's done a great job getting pressure. He's been the one like bright spot in the Jaguars. Nice player at 7. So yeah,
Yeah, definitely like that. TJ Hawkinson, I'd probably go hit too. I think before the middle of last year, I probably would have went fine. But this year in the second half of last year, he really has stepped it up. He's been a really good pick. Definitely not like a home run pick, just because I don't think they drafted like a Travis Kelsey or like a Darren Waller. But I think TJ Hawkinson still provides a lot to that passing game, and I think he's going to be a big building block for a rebuilding Lions team.
yeah, I still stand by that. Wasn't a great pick. The Lions had a terrible defense. I think you could have gotten someone
Mhm.
else. Ed Oliver, man, this has been a huge miss. The dude was hyped out coming out. I don't know if you remember, people like he's top 3 player, like as
Mhm.
a defensive tackle, and he has done nothing. Like highlights, he's not there. Analytical stuff, he's not there. He seems like a nice guy, but man, this has been it's weird because it's not like off the field stuff. He just hasn't been like it's so weird. I kind of feel bad for him, but
He was getting compared to Aaron Donald, so definitely
well, even like he's not even been like a it's just weird. So a huge miss there and kind of he just hasn't worked out. It's just one of those
Mhm.
cases.
Yeah, for sure. I definitely agree. Last top 10 pick, I'm gonna go with Devin Bush, Pittsburgh Steelers backer. I'm gonna go hit. I think he's been pretty good. I think he's kind of just like a tier or like a tier and a half below Devin White. I
Mhm.
think Devin Bush is actually really underrated. I think he's an absolute great run stuffer. I think he's a good leader on that defense. I don't know. I think a lot of people think TJ Watt's the big leader on that defense, but I think the middle linebacker really controls the pace of the defense majority of the time. So I think Devin Bush has done a pretty good job for a Steelers defense that has been pretty solid the past couple of years.
Yeah, he's been a great play on that team. Jonah Williams for the Bengals. He's had some injuries, but it's an offensive line. I'll say he helps protect Joe Burrow. And yeah, it's been a nice move.
Yeah, definitely not a bad one. Rashawn Gary for the Green Bay Packers. This one's pretty hard. I don't want to go miss because I think he's had some decent games,
I
but
guess underwhelming.
I'm gonna go underwhelming just because I don't think it's Rashawn Gary that's been underwhelming. I think it's the Packers' fault for taking him so high, especially when they signed Preston Smith and Zadarius Smith in the same offseason. And then you go out and get another or pass rusher. I think that was kind of weird. But no, I think Gary's a good player. I think it's just underwhelming just because the Packers really didn't need a pass rusher after those two signings, and then he really hasn't played much for them.
Yeah, he loves The Dark Knight Rises. I follow him on Instagram. He always talks about Bane from that movie. He's like, I'm Bane against Batman. I'm like, all right, Rashawn Gary, you go. You got it. He has made some nice plays. Christian Wilkins for Dolphins, underwhelming, has been eh.
Mhm.
That's all I have to say.
Yeah, there's not a lot much to talk about him. Lindstrom, it's hard to like rank a offensive lineman if he's on like a big name guy, but I'd go fine. I don't think he's been a top tier offensive guard, but I don't think he's been a bottom tier, and he's been decent in reshaping that offensive line. So I'd go fine pick there.
Dwayne Haskins, I'm gonna go miss for now, but I think he could move up potentially. I think
Mhm.
that he's had a lot of issues on Washington, the way he played and off the field. But I think in Pittsburgh, he's starting to look a bit improved. So, definitely he was not what people expected. So it's a miss, but I think he could improve. And I almost think he could maybe start later this season for the Steelers. So yeah.
Yeah, definitely, definitely a miss for the Washington football team, but I think Haskins still has a good chance of reviving his
Yeah.
career. Still a super young guy. Um, Going halfway through now, 16. You got Carolina Panthers taking Brian Burns. I think this is a. I'm really torn. I I'm gonna go home run. I think it's a really good
Yeah.
value pick. I think you could say I would if you said hit like I wouldn't disagree with you, but I'm gonna go home run, just because I think it's a really good value pick. Really reminds me of Daniil Hunter, just a really fast pass
Ooh,
rusher
I
off the
like that.
edge. But no, I really like this pick for the Panthers. I think he's definitely a massive part of their defense.
Dexter Lawrence. I'll go fine. I don't think he's been elite, but I don't think he's been bad. I think the Giants could have taken a better player there, but he's been, DT's always a nice position. I think he's almost at times been better than Ed Oliver. So
Mhm.
there's that. But yeah,
Yeah, he's been definitely just a okay defensive player.
yeah.
Minnesota Vikings, Garrett Bradbury. I'm gonna go hit. I think this is a really good pick for him. I think Garrett Bradbury has been a great center for him. I don't think he's like some top two, top three center, but I think the
He's
Vikings
in
had a
the
really,
top 10.
yeah, he's definitely a top 10. I'd probably go top seven, honestly. He's been really good for them. And it was a big need for them, which is offense line, so I'm glad they got that pick. So yeah, I'd go hit.
It's definitely gotten better year after year. Jeffrey Simmons, I don't know. He just I feel the Times could have taken someone else. I'm gonna go underwhelming. I don't think he's been terrible, but I don't think he's really helped that team. A lot of defensive players at DT taken, and DT's valuable, but I just read the Titans. This was the year that they, I think, went to the AFC Championship game. So in a way,
Mhm.
it looks good, but I think they could have drafted better.
Yeah, he's had some injury problems as well. Noah Fant, I don't know if this will be a hot take, but I'm just gonna go fine. I think he's been really
Hmm.
inconsistent throughout his career. I think a lot of people would put him under hit, maybe. I don't know. I don't really know the consensus on Noah Fant, but I'd probably go fine just because he's had really good games. Then there's also a lot of games where he's like very non-existent in their offense. So I'll just go fine.
Along the bottom right of this, you can see the Bills Chiefs highlights that play. That was a great game, by the way. Darn, yeah, I agree with that Noah Fant take. I like him a bit more, but it's like he will have elite games and then he won't be. It's really odd. Donald Savage, underwhelming. He's not really been what you want there with a safety, and the Packers defense has had issues. So, yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, Andre Dillard, I'm gonna go fine. I think he's been okay for when he's played. I think he's barely played though, if I'm not mistaken. Tanner, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't think he's played that much, right?
When he plays, he looks nice. I think finds the best way to describe him.
Yeah, because he was like a backup for his first year, I believe, right? Under
Yeah.
behind Jason Peters. So yeah, I think he's just been okay for
Yeah,
him.
Eagles fans like hate him. I wouldn't say go there, but he could develop nicely. Tyus Howard, miss, man. That was a huge miss by the Texans. He has not been that great for that offensive line. He's actually been pretty bad.
Yeah. At first I was like, this is a great pick because they need offensive line. Then as the years go, I'm like, wow, he is not helping that offensive line. Josh Jacobs, this one's hard. He's kind of missed a lot of time with injury, but I'd go hit. I think he's still a really good
Mhm.
running back. Definitely not a home run, but definitely not fine. I think hit's perfect for him just because he was a Pro Bowl running back. I think people forget about that. People wanted him to win Offensive Rookie of the Year really badly. People were mad when Kyler won. Um, but no, I think when he's healthy, he's been an absolute beast. I think the problem is just staying healthy, but when he's healthy, he's really good for the Raiders.
I'm gonna disagree. I think he's been home run. Not only has he been great, but he's helped propel that Raiders offense. And taking a running back's really hard in the
Mhm.
NFL. And I think taking him where they did was great. So I'll go home run, but I do understand what you mean. Marquise Brown, I'll go hit. I've definitely been more of a fan of his. I think he has some nice talent. He's definitely developed. It takes someone to help Lamar Jackson, and that's definitely what it's done. And we talked about him earlier about how great he is, and he's really developing to the player you want. Third year for me is kind of a big year in the NFL for a lot of these guys, and I think Marquise Brown has taken a huge step up, and it's been great to see.
Yeah, no, he's been definitely a stud for them. Montez Sweat, I think he was a hit at first. I think he's kind of dwindled down a little bit to the
Mm,
fine range because I just haven't seen much from him this past couple of years. His rookie year, he was an absolute stud, really good guy. I kind of do want. I'm gonna go hit actually. I think he's still really solid, but I think he needs to keep it up, or else he might drop down to fine. But for where they picked him at and the value, I'm gonna go hit.
Yeah, he's one of those players where him himself, his stats are fine, but he impacts the players around him with Chase Young. Unfortunately, that's
Mhm.
not happening this season as the whole Washington defense has been underwhelming. But I think Montez Sweat, and he's been pretty good in the league. Jonathan Abram, man, this has been disappointing. This is a total miss. I loved him coming out, but he is not that dynamic safety. He's not good in coverage. He's not really physical. This is a huge miss for the Raiders. This whole draft class for the Raiders was, yeah.
Besides Jacobs,
Yeah, he was good.
um, Jerry Tillery, I really don't know much a lot about this guy. I feel like,
He's been
uh, and I'm pretty sure he's had off the field issues. I'm like 90% sure he's had off the field issues. So I'm just gonna go miss just because I don't think he's really done much for him.
And then we have the classic Seattle Seahawks drafting where they draft
Oh
someone two
gosh.
rounds earlier than they should have been. LJ Collier miss. Yes, I get it. Pete Carroll worked out, earned the Legion of Boom days. It's not been the same since then. LJ Collier is a huge miss for the Seahawks defensive end. He is, you could have drafted someone else here. These next three picks are, oh boy, but yeah.
Yeah, Pete Carroll needs to thank taking DK Metcalf in the second round and Russell Wilson for keeping his job alive in Seattle. Because other than that, he has has been horrible for the Seahawks draft wise. New York Giants, DeAndre Baker. If there's one below miss, I would go that because he was horrible on the Giants. He had off the field issues, and now he signed with the Chiefs. And you probably see him in this play get burned. Honestly, he's been horrible for the Chiefs too. He's been a horrible player, and he's been not a good person off the field. I think he's the biggest bust out of this entire first round, in my opinion.
Well, your next pick's gonna disagree with that. Kel McGarry, though, nice play for the Falcons. I would say this: pretty much all the offensive line in this class were. I think the offensive players, minus who we have next, have been good for the first round. Like the quarterbacks, minus Haskins, Fant, Hawkinson. I think it's been a nice. There's been a couple of misses, but I think overall for the O line was a in the offense it was a good class. It was more hits and misses, and I think Kel McGarry has been a hit. He's been a nice player. I know he's had some injuries and stuff,
Mhm.
but I don't know. I like that pick. And now Mason, I think you have someone joining you in the Baker bust tier.
Yeah, just talking about McGarry real quick. I really liked how the Falcons got him and Lindstrom in the same class.
Mm-hmm.
I think that was really good for their offensive line. But yeah, going to another miss. This really hurts me because I was a huge fan of him coming out of college because I love ASU. Absolute miss. I wouldn't put him on the DeAndre Baker tier just because at least he's on the same team. At least he doesn't have off the field
At least he's
issues.
on the same team.
But he's definitely a miss by far. I think Nikhil Harry needs a new scenery or something. I'm not saying that would change his career, but I think it might help it somewhat, maybe. I just don't think he has a drop problem and he can't get separation. So yeah, definitely a miss.
Yeah, I remember because the pick after this, round two, pick one was the Cardinals, and people wanted the Cardinals to take Nikhil Harry.
Let's
And I
go.
remember there's a rumor that the Patriots drafted Harry, so the Cardinals would trade Josh Rosen to them. Harry's not panned out, so that works out very well for the Cardinals. I think he's been, I think, below miss. You take him as the next big wide receiver. He's not been that. And yeah, so that'll do it. I think overall the defensive a lot more misses than hits, but the offense was definitely better. I think 3 years is good because rookie year you work out kind of the stuff. Second year you improve, and in third you maintain it. So overall, an interesting class. We will be touching on the 2018 draft class probably here in the future, but yeah, just kind of wrapping up here. Excited for this week. Cardinals, Browns, Cowboys, Patriots are kind of the games I'm looking forward to. Chargers, Ravens as well. Herbert and Jackson going up against it. That should be a lot of fun. I'm overall very excited for this week. I think there's gonna be a lot of close games. Yeah. So Mason, if there's any games you want to spotlight for me, I think there's just you also have Bears, Packers, the rookie and the vet with Fields and Rogers. Just a lot of really fun games this week that I think we're gonna have take place, and I'm excited to see them.
Yeah, definitely my favorite game this week is probably gonna be Chargers Ravens. Both
Mhm.
4-1, so one of them is gonna go 5-1. It's gonna be really big for their AFC bye week hopes, the first seed hopes. So I think it's gonna be a really big game. I think when you're looking at like week 17 and you're looking at who's the first seed, I think this game might decide it. Just because I think both these teams are in the front row contention for that first seed. So I'm really excited to watch that game.
Yeah, I do think the Chargers win, though. I think this wide receivers are gonna be an issue for the Ravens secondary. Do you think the Browns beat the Cardinals? I do. I just think that backfield is gonna get the Kyler Murray. And I don't know. In Cleveland, it's gonna be kind of a tough environment. I just feel like the Cardinal streak is gonna end here.
Yeah, I think that the Browns are already a tough team and in Cleveland, and we're dealing with a lot of injuries. I mean, Chandler Jones might miss this game,
Oh
so
no.
because he has COVID, and then Byron Murphy might miss this game, so
Oh
it
no.
might be brutal.
Well, it's gonna be really up to that front seven of the Cardinals. Let's see what else. Vikings, Panthers. We kind of mentioned that two underwhelming teams.
It will be more
Can
underwhelming.
can Dalvin Cook come back? You got the Buccaneers who are gonna destroy the Eagles on Thursday Night Football.
Yeah, sorry about that.
I'm interested for the Seahawks Steelers game because the headline coming in was just like Big Ben versus Russell Wilson. Oh my gosh, now it's Geno Smith versus
That might
old Big Ben.
I'm like no offense to both teams, like but I think this might be the worst Sunday night football game I'll have to watch this year, just because
I
I'm no offense, I do not want to watch Geno Smith in back-to-back primetime games, but I'm gonna have to. So
I don't know. I think that it's gonna be interesting. Is because before this was like easy win, right? Russell Wilson, prime Russell Wilson versus old man Big Ben.
yeah.
Now it's like
Oh
Geno
man.
Smith, who looked pretty well. I'm excited for this game. I think this could be exciting. Mason,
um, but
oh
yeah, go ahead.
do you think Washington could upset the Chiefs? I think the Chiefs win, but that'll be something if Washington wins. It's at
It's
Washington.
gonna be interesting because the dynamic Chiefs offense is going to be playing an underwhelming Chiefs defense, and then,
And then
or excuse
Washington.
me, Washington defense, and then a Washington offense has honestly been surprisingly good. Is going to play probably the worst defense in football, so we could have a high scoring game. Who knows? But no, talking about the Steelers real quick, completely forgot to mention Juju Smith-Schuster is out for the year, so that's going to be another huge blow to their team.
It
Um,
is.
Prayers up to Juju. All the TikTok jokes are funny, but never want to see him get hurt. And it looked like
Yeah.
he was in a lot of pain too, so hopefully he gets better. But no, yeah, I think this Chiefs Washington game can actually be pretty good. I think it might be like the Eagles game where it's kind of close for a little bit, and the Chiefs just
Hmm.
kind of pull away at the end, maybe. But yeah,
I think it could be. I think I had the Chiefs winning like 45-30. I just tell Heineke I haven't been too impressed with him. He'll make some nice plays for sure, but I don't know. Any other games? I hope Cowboys Patriots is good. I really do because these are two legacy teams, right? And they haven't really had a great game. It's been very boring or very one-sided. So you have Dak Prescott versus Mac Jones. I
I
think the
think the
Cowboys
Cowboys
win.
might. I think the Cowboys might destroy them, honestly, just
No.
because this that we didn't talk about the Texans Patriots game, but so my friend's a Patriots fan and he was talking to me about the Patriots game a lot, and he was like extremely mad at Josh McDaniels, which I feel like every Patriots fan is because
Yeah.
he runs like a fifth grade offense, which is a bunch of dump screens and stuff. And he was like, we barely beat the Texans after almost upsetting Tom Brady. Like, is this what our team is now after Tom Brady left? I'm like, welcome
They're
to my
so
world, man.
inconsistent. Yeah, they're so inconsistent. That's just who they are.
Yeah.
Bengals Lions. That's gonna be a fun one.
Lions gonna lose off a game-winning field goal,
Oh
probably.
no. I feel bad. The Lions have been good. Like they're 0-5, but they almost beat the Ravens and Vikings.
Mhm.
And they almost came back against the 49ers, right? They've been competitive. I wouldn't shock me if Detroit wins, but I'm going Cincy. But there's a lot of other fun games. This weekend we'll be there to cover them. Thank you all so much for watching, and until then, take care.
See you guys.